Boys, you are all born of my heart, which is the seat of all spiritual qualities. Therefore you should not be like materialistic and envious men. You should accept your eldest brother Bharat, who is an exalted in devotional service. If you engage yourself in Bharat's service, your service to him will include my service, and you will rule the citizens automatically. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In this verse, the word Hriday indicates the heart, which is also called Ura, the chest. The heart is situated within the chest, and although instrumentally the son is born with the aid of the genitals, he is actually born from within the heart. According to the heart's situation, the semen takes form of a body. Therefore, according to the Vedic system, when one begets a child, his heart should be purified through the ritualistic ceremony known as Garbhadana. Rishabdev's heart was always uncontaminated and spiritual. Consequently, all his sons, born from the heart of Rishabdev, were spiritually inclined. Nonetheless, Rishabdev suggested that his eldest son was superior, and he advised the others to serve him. All the brothers of Bharat Maharaj were advised by Rishabdev to adhere to Bharat's service. The question may be asked, why one should be attached to family members? For in the beginning it was advised that one should not be attached to home and family. However, it is also advised, Mahiya Sampadarajo Bhishekam, one has to serve the Mahiyan, one who is very spiritually advanced. Mahat Sevam Dwaram Ahura Vimuktes. By serving the Mahat, the exalted devotee, one's path of liberation is open. The family of Rishabdev should not be compared to an ordinary materialistic family. Bharat Maharaj, Rishabdev's eldest son, was specifically very exalted. For this reason, the other sons were advised to serve him for his pleasure. This was to be their duty. The Supreme Lord was advising Bharat Maharaj to be the chief ruler of the planet. This is the real plan of the Supreme Lord. In the battle of Kurukshetra, we find that Lord Krishna wanted Maharaj Yudhisthira to be the supreme emperor of this planet. He never wanted Duryodhana to take the post. As stated in the previous verse, Lord Rishabdev's heart is Hridayam Yatra Dharma. The characteristic Dharma is also explained in Bhagavad Gita. Surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. To protect Dharma, Paritranaya Sadhunam, the Lord always wants the ruler of the earth to be a devotee. Then everything goes on nicely for the benefit of everyone. As soon as a demon rules the earth, everything becomes chaotic. At the present moment, the world is inclined toward the democratic process, but the people in general are all contaminated by the modes of passion and ignorance. Consequently, they cannot select the right person to head the government. The president is selected by the votes of ignorant Shudras. Therefore, another Shudra is elected, and immediately the entire government becomes polluted. If people strictly followed the principles of Bhagavad Gita, they would elect a person who is the Lord's devotee. Then automatically there would be good government. Rishabdev therefore recommended Bharat Maharaj as the emperor of this planet. Serving a devotee means serving the Supreme Lord, for a devotee always represents the Lord. When a devotee is in charge, the government is always congenial and beneficial for everyone. This morning we are reading from the 5th canto, chapter 5 of Srimad Bhagavatam, where Shukadev Goswami has described the appearance of the great incarnation of Godhead in the form of Rishabdev, and his most essential and important teachings that he had imparted to his sons. In fact, Srila Prabhupada explains, for those who are in the renounced order of life, it is very important that they scrutinize and study the teachings of Rishabdev and apply them to their life. Rishabdev had 100 sons, and in a holy place, just before he retired from his kingdom to go into the forest as an avadhuta, he instructed his sons. It was his parting teachings. Of course, his sons were already very highly realized souls, but for the sake of all living beings, he instructed them. And this is the last sloka of these instructions. He is explaining that you should not be like ordinary materialistic people. Materialistic people are by nature envious. There are two types of people in family life. There is the grihavrata or grihasta, and there is the grihamedi. Grihavrata means one who makes a vow that my home belongs to God, that all of my property, all of my abilities, my family, everything is the property of God. Therefore, I have absolutely no right to utilize any of these things separate from the interest of God. And therefore, such a grihasta is advised to be very, very charitable. It is important. If grihastas are not very charitable as an austerity, by the nature of the ashram, they become envious. Charitable means to one's own family members, to guests, and to the people in general, and also to the sadhus who may come to your home. To be willing to utilize everything you have for the benefit of others in the service of God. That is called grihasta. Sometimes we call ourselves grihasta, but we should know being a grihasta is not just an ordinary thing. It doesn't mean just having a wife or a husband and children. It means taking a very determined vow in your life to use everything in Krishna's service, to put Krishna in the center of your life, to raise your children exclusively for only one purpose, that they never have to take birth again in this material world. Whether they be sons and daughters, in this life they must prepare themselves to go back to Godhead. And as far as the clothing and how high the quality of the food, or what kind of residence you live in, or what type of education they received, that is all very, very secondary. That is not your duty. Your duty is that they never take birth again in this material world. And part and parcel of that duty is to take care of them physically and emotionally in such a way that that can be fulfilled. But if their education, if the nice residence that they are being brought up in, if the clothing and the food you are providing them, if it is not to facilitate the purpose of their life, you are not grihasta. You are grihamedi. Grihamedi specifically means one who is envious. Envious of God. Wanting to be the Lord, the Master, the Controller. The father wants to think that I am the king of my house. So many fathers say, I am the king of this house. I am the controller. I am the provider. I am the creator, the maintainer, and if I want, the destroyer. It's true. I have created all these children by my hard work. I have created this house. I have created all the jewels and dresses that my wife wears. I am the creator. And by my hard work, I am maintaining. And when I become angry, I have the power to destroy. So in this way, the husband is thinking he is Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwar. All guna avatars in one. And who is that? That is the Supreme Personality of God. But little does he know that the wife is controlling him. He doesn't know, but she knows. Every wife knows. Therefore, she's thinking, I am the controller. Chanda avatar. Secret avatar. Has all the opulences of Godhead, but does not reveal it openly. Keeps it secret. So everyone is thinking, I am the controller. And the children, little babies, how much they are controlling. They start to cry and everything in the house just goes topsy-turvy, upside down, and everything just to somehow make the child happy. Everyone's complete focus is the baby, the baby, the baby. The baby is thinking, I am the controller. I am the all-attractive. So everyone is thinking that they are in a high, supreme position. But we must check these tendencies. And the only way to do so is to really seriously put Krishna in the center of the house. Install the deities in the house. And all the family members come together to serve the deity, to chant, to hear the Bhagavat, to prepare prasad. When you're cleaning the house, you're cleaning Krishna's house. When the man is working for his profession, he's working to provide for Krishna's temple. Bhoga for Krishna. And all the family members are servants of one another. The husband, by his being a very, very proper example of Krishna consciousness and by providing means, is a servant of the wife and children and parents and whoever else may be there. The wife is assisting her husband as a servant. The children are serving their parents. In Krishna consciousness, no one thinks he's master. Everyone is servant. And even if you temporarily take the post of a master, officially, it is only as a humble servant for those who are dependent on you. So we know how brothers have a natural affinity to fight with one another. Have you had this experience? Some of the biggest business people in India, the father raises the children, the father leaves, and the sons all become enemies and fight. And we find Aurangzeb, great king of India, Mughal king. He killed all his brothers just because he didn't want them to take any of his territory of control. And even the most pious families, children are always fighting whose toy belongs to who deserves this and who deserves that. And fighting is not normal. This type of competition. And even in spiritual circles, God brothers have this tendency, and God sisters. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur explained that when they had a simple temple in Ultadanga Junction Road, just a little rented house, everyone was so united and preaching. But when they got a big, big temple, everyone started fighting whose room will be whose and whose facility will be used. Everyone wanted it for themselves, for their own projects, for their own preaching, for their own sense gratification. And he warned, if they are fighting like this over some rooms when I am present, what kind of fighting that will take place when I leave this planet? And sure enough, the God brothers, so much fighting. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, his last instructions was remain united in the humble service of the Vaishnavas. That is the way to put Krishna in the center. Then there will be unity. And this is the same instruction that Rishabdev is giving to his sons. That when you serve Bharat, when you serve your eldest brother, you are serving me. If you are not serving him, you are not serving me. So he is teaching them how to be non-envious of one another, congenial and unified in their devotion. And this is not only socially very important to maintain the happiness of the Vaishnavas, but it is also a very, very critical aspect of the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. It is the very heart of the philosophy. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained to his wife, Vishnupriya, before he left his home to take sannyas, that there are only two religious principles in this age of Kali: chanting the holy name and serving the devotees. And if we do not understand the importance of chanting Harinam and serving the devotees, then we miss the point of the whole philosophy. We can memorize tens and thousands of slokas from the Upanishads, the Mahabharata, the Puranas. We could memorize the entire Gita and Srimad Bhagavat. But if we are not coming to the conclusion of taking shelter of the holy name and humbly serving as the servant of the Vaishnavas, then nothing will be realized that will bring you closer to devotion to God. So this type of Krishna-conscious relationships is something very, very important to study, to understand, and to apply to our lives. Last Tuesday evening at a beautiful program at Srinathji Prabhu's home, I promised you to discuss a certain subject. Who remembers what is that subject? It was then the appearance day of Gopal Bhatta Goswami and Ramchandra Kaviraj. So with your permission, I will discuss, because it has a very wonderful relationship with this verse that we are reading today. By hearing the narrations of the eternal associates of the Lord who have surrendered their lives to the Lord, there is a great purification that takes place in our hearts, and also the pure devotees, their lives are the illustration of the essence of the teachings of all the scriptures. Just by seeing the behavior of such great souls, their total sacrifice to the suffering, to serving suffering humanity, and their wonderful relationships with each other, their surrender to God, we could learn all the lessons that we require to perfect our own lives. Gopal Bhatta Goswami was born in Srirangam as the son of Venkata Bhatta. There were three brothers, Prabodhananda, Trimala Bhatta, and Venkata Bhatta. And they were the head pujaris of the Srirangam temple, the largest temple in all of India. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came there during his South Indian tour and remained there for the entire 4 months, Chaturmasya. When he first came, he was dancing and singing in the temple of Ranganath, and crowds of people were gathered around to see the beauty of the golden avatar as he was dancing so joyfully and chanting very loudly, in fact, inducing everyone to chant very loudly the holy names.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Venkata Bhatta invited Lord Chaitanya to his home. And upon receiving him, he washed the Lord's lotus feet. And then he distributed the water that had washed the Lord's feet to all of his family members. And they all began to drink. And Gopal was a small boy, and when he drank this water, he just became filled with ecstatic emotion. And from that very moment, he became so attached to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that his only thinking was how to serve him, how to please him. So he was day and night engaged in the personal service of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He would massage him, he would bring things for him, anything the Lord wanted, he would do. And Venkata Bhatta was so happy to see this. Because a real father, his joy in life is to see his child making spiritual advancement, becoming dear to the Lord. So, one day, Gopal Bhatta began to lament. He was thinking, why couldn't I have seen Lord Chaitanya in his beautiful form of Navadvip Chandra, as a grihasta with beautiful long flowing hairs with his associates? Why I did not see him at that time? I have to see him as a sannyasi, performing tapasya, eating so little, sleeping in difficult places, with his beautiful hair shaved. He began to condemn providence, that why have you cheated me of seeing the Lord in his beautiful form of the supreme enjoyer? And then he forgave providence. And he admitted that it must be his own fault, due to his sins. So his heart was burning like this. This was the nature of his love. And one night, when he was resting, he had a beautiful dream. In this dream, he saw Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Navadvip Chandra, with his beautiful golden dhoti and long flowing hair. He was decorated with a malati garland of flowers, and he had beautiful jewels decorating his lovely form. And his associates were along with him. And just then, Lord Nityananda and Advaita took Gopal and embraced him and began to tell him something very important. But just as they were about to speak, he woke up. And he felt very much in distress. So he ran directly to where Lord Chaitanya was in his home. And when he came to Lord Chaitanya revealed his beautiful form as Sham Sundar. He had a form that was bluish like a monsoon rain cloud. He has decorated with a beautiful peacock feather. And then that form transformed right before his eyes into the form of Lord Chaitanya as the moon of Navadvip. This beautiful, beautiful hair. and his wonderful lotus eyes stretching practically to his ears. And his complexion was such a golden color that it put to shame the gold of the newly formed moon. And when he saw this beautiful form which he longed to see, he prostrated himself in obeisances at the lotus feet of the Lord. And when he looked up at him, he was again sitting as a sannyasi. And Lord Chaitanya instructed him. He said that you are my very dear devotee, and you should serve your parents because they are great Vaishnavas. And when they leave this world with their blessings, you should go to Vrindavan. And there you should join Rupa and Sanatan Goswamis. And you should live with them in great harmony and serve them. And together you will reveal so many great Vaishnava literatures. And you will have disciples from everywhere. For the next 4 months, or during those 4 months, Gopal Bhatta continued his service, and then Lord Chaitanya left. Gopal Bhatta Goswami became the disciple of his uncle Prabodhananda Saraswati, one of the greatest Acharyas of our spiritual line. And his parents were always chanting the glories of their son. Their hearts were just filled with such ecstasy to see his devotion. And after some years, when they were on their deathbeds, their last instructions to their son Gopal was, now you have our blessings to fulfill the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You go to Vrindavan and always remember the lotus feet of Krishna. And then Venkata Bhatta and his wife, in great devotion, chanted the name of Lord Gaurachandra, and they gave up their body, and their souls returned to the spiritual world. So Gopal Bhatta went to Vrindavan, and there he was united with Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. They were all meeting together. Every day Lord Chaitanya, when he was living in Jagannath Puri, he would go to the Tota Gopinath temple, where Gadadhar Pandit would give Srimad Bhagavatam class each day. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would take the greatest pleasure hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from Gadadhar Pandit. Again and again and again, he couldn't hear enough of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Some stories like Dhruva Maharaj or Prahlad, the Lord would just ask him, after finishing, he would say, repeat it again, repeat it again. Sometimes 10, 15 times he would just repeat the whole story again and again and again. This is the sign of a great soul, one who is anxious to hear the glories of the Lord. One day while he was there, he said to his associates as they were sitting together, that I have not heard anything from Rupa and Sanatan Goswami for some time. In his heart, he was thinking, I wonder if Gopal Bhatta ever came to Vrindavan. And just when he said this and was thinking like this, at that very moment a messenger came from Vrindavan with a letter from Rupa and Sanatan Goswamis. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu read that letter, and it said that that great illustrious servant of yours, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, has now come to Vrindavan, and he is one of our brothers. We are all together. We are all happy to be together. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard this, he became very, very pleased. He began to extol the glories of Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Because Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's greatest pleasure was to see those souls surrendering to his teachings to be unified together, in pushing on his mission together. And this was the 6 Goswamis. So Lord Chaitanya sent to Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Rupa and Sanatan, many gifts, including some wooden sitting places that he would personally sit on, his own outer cloth, his kopans. And when Gopal Bhatta Goswami received these gifts, he worshipped them as if they were the Lord himself. Lord Chaitanya instructed him to worship Shalagram Shila. But he was very attached to the worship of Radha Govinda, Rupa Goswami's deity. And once a wealthy man came and brought beautiful jewelry for the various deities of Vrindavan. But he was told to worship this Shalagram Shila. So it was on Narsingha Chaturdasi, the appearance day of Lord Nrsimhadev, that Gopal Bhatta began to pray. He had 12 Shalagram Shilas. He began to pray to them that just as you, Lord Nrsimhadev, on this very day manifested your beautiful form out of stone, if it be your desire, from this form of the stone of Shalagram Shila, please reveal your beautiful threefold bending form. And the next day he went to take his bath in Jamuna, and when he returned, to his wonderful surprise, his Damodar Shila manifested the beautiful form of Sri Radharaman. And when Rupa Goswami saw this beautiful deity, all the Goswamis explained that the three principal deities of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas are all manifested in this one deity. The Sambandha Murti is Radha Madan Mohan, who we worship his lotus feet to establish our relationship with Krishna. The Abhideya Murti is Radha Govinda, and the Prayojana deity, Sambandha, means to establish through knowledge our relationship with Krishna. Abhideya means to act according to that relationship, which means to engage in the process of devotional service. And Prayojana is the ultimate goal of devotional service, pure unalloyed devotion, Prema Bhakti, which is represented by the deity of Gopinath, Sri Govinda Gopinatha Madana Mohan. And it was said that the feet, the waist, and the face of Radharaman included all three of these deities. So by having darshan of this deity, you are going to see all the important deities of Vrindavan. So he worshipped this deity with great love and devotion. Gradually, by the mercy of Radharaman, a beautiful temple was built. One day he was lamenting that my father told me that I should fix my mind on worshipping Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But I think that I am neglecting that because I'm so completely absorbed in worshipping Radharaman. And as he was thinking like this, the form of Radharaman immediately turned into Lord Chaitanya. And he saw the wonderful golden form of Gauranga. And then he understood. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nahayanya. That Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the incarnation of both Radha and Krishna. So Gopal Bhatta Goswami lived in Vrindavan amongst Rupa Goswami, Jiva Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. And he helped Sanatan Goswami write many books, such as Hari Bhakti Vilas. And he was the very emblem of pure unalloyed devotion. The 6 Goswamis revealed the various places of Krishna's Leela in Vrindavan and excavated those places to make Vrindavan once again a holy place of pilgrimage. They established beautiful temples and deity worship. They wrote many, many books extracting the essence of all scriptures and establishing irrefutably the supreme par excellence of bhakti above all other processes of self-realization. And especially, that the highest bhakti is that of the residents of Vrindavan in their worship of Radha and Krishna. They also, by their own books, as well as their behavior toward one another, they established the highest principles of Vaishnava etiquette. These were the basic goals that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed the 6 Goswamis to fulfill, as well as teaching by their example how to live in the renounced order of life properly. So, after some years, Rupa and Sanatana Goswamis left their bodies. They returned to the spiritual world. And Jiva Goswami, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Lokanath Goswami, Bhugarabha Goswami, Kashishwar Pandit, Raghunath Das Goswami, they were plunged in an ocean of separation because these devotees had such love for one another. Gopal Bhatta Goswami didn't even want to go on living without the association of these great Vaishnavas. He would somehow or other do his puja to Radha Raman, but in the ecstasy of love he would simply cry in separation. Until one day a great personality appeared, and that was Srinivasacharya. Srinivasacharya was the son of one great devotee named Chaitanya Das. Chaitanya Das was his name previous was Gangadhar Bhattacharya, and he was a classmate of Lord Chaitanya, a friend of Lord Chaitanya. They grew up together in Navadvip. And later on, he was married to a beautiful and devoted wife named Lakshmi Priya. And they were so detached, they never once in their whole life even thought or considered having a child. One day, Gangadhar decided to visit some of his relatives. And on the way he passed through Katwa. And that happened to be the very day Lord Chaitanya was taking sannyas. And he saw everyone in Katwa weeping and crying. And he said, "What is happening?" He said, "You have not heard the great Nimai Pandit is now in the process of shaving his head to take sannyas." His heart was broken. He ran to the place on the bank of the river Ganges, and there he saw the beautiful hair of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu falling to the ground. And he saw Nityananda Prabhu and others just rolling in tears and agony seeing this happening. And he himself fainted unconscious. And when he came to consciousness, he began to weep and cry, and he fell again unconscious to see the Lord taking sannyas at such a young age of 24, giving up his beautiful wife who was hardly 16 years old. His chaste and widowed mother, who had nothing but him to live for in her whole existence. And during the sannyas ceremony, he personally heard Keshav Bharati announced that your name will be Sri Krishna Chaitanya. And after hearing this, those words went so deep in his heart, all he could do is just say, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Sri Krishna Chaitanya. And he went home and he was like a madman. He couldn't say anything except Sri Krishna Chaitanya. So the residents of his village, which was near Jajigram, they renamed him Chaitanya Das, because he couldn't say anything except the names of Lord Chaitanya. One day, he and his wife, all of a sudden, mysteriously, had an overpowering desire to have a son. And they consulted one another. What is this? We never wanted children. His wife said, this must be the arrangement of the Lord. we should go to Jagannath Puri, where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was residing. And there we should find out whether it is actually the Lord's desire that we have a child. True devotees will not do anything without the blessings of the Lord and His devotees. Anything important in life. So they went to Jagannath Puri. And when they went into the Jagannath temple, Lord Chaitanya happened to be there with his servant Govinda and other associates. And Chaitanya Das and his wife, in great love, with tears in their eyes, they offered respects to Lord Gaur Sundar and to the beautiful form of Jagannath, Balaram, Subhadra. And Lord Chaitanya told Govinda that you take him to see Lord Jagannath closely. And Lord Chaitanya told that Krishna will fulfill the desire that you have. Now you go home and do not be afraid. What you desire is Krishna's desire. So they became very jubilant. And soon after that, a beautiful son was born. And his name was Srinivas. And his father was constantly telling him the beautiful pastimes of Lord Chaitanya and his associates. And he was simply longing to go to Jagannath Puri to meet him. And as he got a little bit older, he decided, his father actually left his body, and he decided that now I will leave everything behind and I will go to take shelter of Lord Chaitanya. So he traveled. And on the way, his heart was just, every step, it was just anticipating his meeting with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his most munificent and beautiful form. And as he was going to Puri Dham, anybody who was coming the other way, he was asking them, tell me about Lord Chaitanya. You have just come from Puri, tell me. And he was hearing so many pastimes, and he was becoming more and more ecstatic and enlivened. And he was right in the outskirts of Jagannath Puri. And some people were coming, and they were weeping and crying. He said, you are coming from Puri? They said, yes. Tell me about Lord Chaitanya. They said he just disappeared from the world. He has wound up his earthly pastimes. In fact, Srinivas was born in Jajigram. And just close to Jajigram is a village called Srikhanda, where many great personalities lived. One was Narahari Sarakar, who was one of the most intimate, loving associates of Lord Chaitanya. And Srinivas would always go to take shelter of Narahari and take teachings from him and serve him very nicely. And actually it was Narahari Sarakar that told him, you should go to Jagannath Puri very quickly. Because Advaitacharya just sent a message to Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya sent me that message. And in his own mysterious, mystical, poetic way, Advaitacharya told Lord Chaitanya that you have fulfilled the purpose of this incarnation, now you should leave this world. When Lord Chaitanya read it, he began to laugh, that it was Advaita that called me to this world, and it is now Advaita that is sending me back. And Narahari said, you should go very quickly before he leaves. So he was going. But when he found out that Lord Chaitanya left and he had never been able to see him, he decided to enter fire or drown himself in the Ganges, but he had no desire to live. And then Lord Chaitanya appeared to him in a dream. He fell unconscious on the side of the road. And in his beautiful, beautiful form, he told him that you should go and take shelter of Gadadhar Pandit. He is none different than myself. and learn Srimad Bhagavatam from him. So he went into Puri, and eventually he was brought to Gadadhar Pandit's abode. Gadadhar Pandit greeted him. He said, actually, I was about to leave my body too, but I stayed here just because I knew you were coming. And he embraced him and soaked him with tears of love. And they had kirtan together and wonderful, wonderful discussions together. And he was introduced to all the devotees, and he had the beautiful darshan of Jagannath. But when it came to learning Srimad Bhagavatam, since the disappearance of Lord Chaitanya, he was always weeping. So his Srimad Bhagavatam was covered with tears. And some parts could be read, but much of it, the ink absorbed the tears and lost their form of the letters. So Gadadhar Pandit said, you should go back to Bengal. So he visited many places and many great souls. And then he got his Bhagavatam. And when he was returning, he came to the outskirts of Puri, and he heard the message, Gadadhar Pandit has left this world. So again he fainted. Again he vowed to drown himself in the Ganges. This is the love that devotees have for each other. And Gadadhar Pandit and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Gaur Gadadhar, appeared to him in a wonderful vision and told him, you should go to Vrindavan. After meeting all of the associates of ours in Bengal, you should go to Vrindavan, and there you should take shelter of Rupa and Sanatana Goswami. So after some time, he made his great journey to Vrindavan. He came to Vishram Ghat in Mathura. He was taking his bath in Jamuna, and he saw some Brahmins weeping and crying. And he asked, what is happening? You have not heard? Rupa and Sanatana Goswamis have recently left this world. So again he began to weep. He was about to drown himself again, but the Brahmin said, no, 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 not like that. You should not do. And then Rupa and Sanatana appeared to him and told him, you should study Bhagavatam under Jiva Goswami. So he went to Vrindavan, and when he saw the beauty of Vrindavan, he was struck with wonder. And it was in the beautiful temple of Rupa Goswami, Radha Govinda, when he had darshan of the deities during the arti. He just laid on the floor in ecstatic love. The night before, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared to Gopal Bhatta Goswami and told him that you should initiate Srinivas. He is coming tomorrow. I have already informed him that you are his spiritual master. And Lord Chaitanya also appeared to Jiva Goswami and told him you should teach him the principles of bhakti. So Jiva Goswami, he went to Govinda's temple and found Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Srinivas Acharya, and took him to Gopal Bhatta Goswami. And Gopal Bhatta Goswami, after a few days, offered him at the lotus feet of Sri Radharaman and gave him initiation. Srinivas Acharya lived in Vrindavan, and Gopal Bhatta Goswami, understanding the great scholarship of Jiva Goswami, he instructed Srinivas Acharya that you go to Jiva Goswami and you learn the science of bhakti from him. This was the love and the trust of the devotees in those days. Gopal Bhatta Goswami initiated him, and he was his foremost disciple. But he put him under the care of Jiva Goswami. After some time, Narottam Das Thakur came. How many stories should I tell? I haven't got to the part I was... Anyways, Narottam Das was the son of a prince. And actually, before he was even born, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, on his way to Vrindavan, he stopped and looked toward the village of Ketari, and he started calling out in ecstatic love, dancing like a mad, ecstatic devotee. He started calling out, Narottam, Narottam, Narottam. And the devotees understood that a great devotee, Narottam, will be born in this place. And even though Narottam had so much wealth, he was the only son of the king, Krishnananda Dutt, he had no appeal for any of it. Throughout the day, he would just go to one wonderful Vaishnava and hear the glories of Lord Chaitanya and his associates. And one time, this sadhu was telling him about this one devotee named Srinivasacharya. And Narottam's heart was thinking, when will I meet this person? When will I serve this person? And ultimately he left everything behind and went to Vrindavan. And there he met with Jiva Goswami and Narottam Das Thakur, Srinivasacharya, and later Shamananda Pandit all lived together in the ashram of Jiva Goswami. And the three of them became the most super excellent scholars of Vaishnava philosophy. And they were all three the very emblems of humility, devotion, and the desire to serve. They were always filled with ecstatic love. Many years went by in this way. They were constantly receiving the blessings of all the great devotees. And then it was decided that the literatures of the Goswamis should be sent to Bengal. So an auspicious day, after receiving the blessings of all the devotees, Jiva Goswami sent Srinivasacharya, Narottam Das Thakur, and Shamananda with ox carts filled with wooden crates in which, very ceremoniously, all the books, the original books of Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, they were all contained. The idea was that they were going to make copies of these books and distribute them. It was the original book distribution party in the Krishna consciousness movement. They traveled through actually Srinivasacharya decided that they should travel the exact same route that Lord Chaitanya went on his way to Jagannath Puri from Vrindavan. They went through Jharikanda forest, and finally they came to Bengal. And they were on the outskirts of one kingdom called Vanavishnupur. And there was a king there whose name was Virhambir. And he was actually a dacoit. And he had a whole army of dacoits. And he thought not even twice about killing people and robbing people to get their riches. And all the pious people in the kingdom, they condemned their king. He is so cruel. He is such a crooked person. He gets his wealth by so many sinful means. When will he ever? Only a great, great Vaishnava can possibly deliver him. So an astrologer told King Virambir that there are some sadhus, and they are actually very wealthy men, and they are carrying crates which hold the greatest treasure of jewels. So he sent his dacoit army, many of them, who armed themselves with weapons. And the king said, do not kill them, they are sadhus, but somehow or other get this treasure. So they were sleeping at night, and while they were sleeping, very, very quietly, They stole all the books. And they brought them to the king. And the king was just so overwhelmed with joy that I have received the treasure. And he opened it up and he saw these books. But these books were so pure. They were so potent. Can you imagine the very palm leaves that Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, the very palm leaves that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami personally touched and wrote upon. There was such bhakti emanating that just by seeing these books his heart changed and he understood this is the greatest treasure in all of creation. But I have committed the greatest offense because I have stolen from someone. And he sent his thieves out, go try to find these people. Meanwhile, when Narottam, Srinivas, and Shamananda woke in the morning and they found the books were gone, they began to weep and to cry that the only copies of all the Goswamis' books, and most of the Goswamis had already left the planet, they're stolen, they're gone, and it was our responsibility. What will Jiva Goswami, Gopal Bhatta, what will the residents of Vrindavan think now? They will die if they find that the literatures, which is the basis of our whole mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, are gone. What will Janava Devi think? They were utterly devastated. They were beside themselves. Narottam Das Thakur decided, I will drown myself in the Ganges. I cannot live, that I am responsible for the loss of these books. And Shamananda decided, he committed himself, I will put myself in fire and burn myself. And Srinivas Acharya was so much aggrieved, he didn't know what he should do. And just at that time, Srinivas heard a voice that the king has taken these books. You will get them back. So he sent Narottam and Shamananda to go to proceed in their preaching in Kechari and Orissa. And he personally went right to the king's court. And when he arrived, there was a Bhagavad discourse taking place. And Srinivas sat and listened. But as soon as King Virambir saw Srinivas, he understood this is a special personality. And they asked Srinivas to speak. He said, no, I have come to hear. So after hearing the Bhagavad, they asked what is his opinion. And he began to explain in such beautiful, eloquent explanation, according to Rupa and Sanatan and Jiva Goswami's teachings, the essence of all religion, which is contained in Bhagavatam. And the king, as well as the royal pundit, they all fell at Srinivas's feet and begged him to accept them as a servant. King Virambir asked Srinivas, I am surrendering my life to you. Is there anything I can do for you? He said, please help me find these books. He said, I have the books. And he brought him to those books. And when Srinivas Acharya saw those books, he became ecstatic in love and worshipped the books. And the king and his queen and all of the court pundits and all the citizens of the kingdom all became surrendered to Srinivas Acharya. This is a wonderful story. It teaches that if we have faith in Krishna, even the greatest reversals in our life, Krishna will transform it into the greatest benediction. What appeared to be the greatest catastrophe in existence, the books are gone, and how much they wept and cried and grieved, and the messengers who were using, who were taking the carts and guarding the books were Brijbasis. And when the books were gone, they just went back to Vrindavan and told Jiva Goswami and Gopal Bhatta and Lokanath Goswami the books were stolen. The whole of Vrindavan was cast into an ocean of misery, transcendental misery. And meanwhile, Narottam and Shamananda, they were telling people wherever they went in Bengal, the books are gone. So it appeared to be such a problem. But because these devotees had such faith and such love and such determination, Krishna transformed the greatest catastrophe into the greatest offering. For the first time, and after Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the second generation, a king and an entire kingdom became devotees. And all the dacoits under King Virambir, they were all in the temple with Srinivasacharya, dancing in ecstasy and chanting the holy name.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare.
Srinivasacharya stayed for some time, and then to the great dismay of the residents of Vana Vishnupur, he departed, and he went to Srikhanda, where he again met Narahari Sarakar, Raghunandan, and other great souls. And then he went to Jajigram to be with his mother Lakshmi Priya, who was so happy to see him. She was a great devotee of the Lord. And there he started preaching the teachings of the Goswamis. And every day he would teach Srimad Bhagavatam class. And one day, as he was teaching the class, he met a very special personality. His name was Ramchandra Kaviraj. Here is where our class begins. Do we have time to begin? If you are hungry and would like to go, say Haribol. If you would like me to continue, please say Haribol.
Haribol!
Anyways, if you're hungry, you can quietly, secretly go. No pressures. A little background of Ramchandra Kaviraj. There was a very, very great debater and scholar. His name was Damodar Kaviraj. He lived in the area of Srikhanda. And Damodar Kaviraj, he was a very excellent poet. And he knew the scriptures so well he could defeat anybody in debate on any subject. And he loved to defeat people in debate. And he was a devotee of Bhavani, Durga. So one day, a scholar engaged in a debate with Damodar Kaviraj, and like usual, Damodar Kaviraj defeated him. But this scholar became so upset that he cursed Damodar Kaviraj. He said, "I curse you that you will never in this life be able to have a son." Damodar Kaviraj was a married man. He was young. He was anxious to start a family. When he heard the broadcast of this curse, "In this life you will never be able to have a son," he became so disturbed. He fell at the feet of this scholar, and he began to offer him all sorts of services and beg forgiveness, and he just tried to please him in every way to somehow withdraw this curse. And ultimately he satisfied the scholar. And the scholar told him, in this life you will never have a son, because I've already given my curse. But you will have a daughter. Hare Krishna. And your daughter will be the reservoir of all devotional qualities. And your daughter will have 2 sons. And these 2 sons will create auspiciousness throughout the entire world. They will be great associates of the Supreme Personality of God. So Damodar Kaviraj soon had a daughter, and her name was Sunanda. And she was such a beautiful and kind, compassionate-hearted person. Everyone simply loved her for her generous and devotional qualities. And when she was at marriageable age, he was trying to find a suitable husband. And by the arrangement of the Supreme Lord, one of the most wonderful associates of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was from Srikhanda, his name was Chirajivan. He was a personal friend of Lord Chaitanya. He married Sunanda, the daughter of Damodar Kaviraj. And from them, a beautiful, wonderful son was born. And his name was Ramchandra, later to be named Ramchandra Kaviraj. And there was another brother that was soon to be born. The younger brother of Ramchandra was in the womb of his mother for a long time. And the time for giving birth came, and the child did not come out. So the mother was in terrible pain and distress, Sunanda. And the child just wouldn't come out. And she sent her maidservant to her father, Damodar Kaviraj, who was at the time worshipping Durga Devi, the deity, and said that your daughter is under terrible distress. So what he did is he had the sword in Durga's hand. He gave that sword to the maidservant of his daughter. And then she gave an abhishek to Durga Devi's sword. And she took that water and gave it to Sunanda to drink. And she drank it, and immediately, painlessly, the child was born. Durga Mata ki. And his name became Sri Govinda. Sri Govinda, when he heard how he was born by the grace of Bhavani, he became a very, very great devotee of Bhavani, Durga Devi. Meanwhile, Chiranjiva left his body, and his 2 sons, Ramchandra and Sri Govinda, were brought up after their father from their grandfather. And although the father was always repeating the wonderful stories of Lord Chaitanya, when he left, the grandfather was always telling them of the importance of worshipping Durga. So eventually they became Durga Bhaktas. So Ramchandra, when he became of marriageable age, he got married. And after the marriage was, Srikhanda and Jajigram are just next to each other. They're 2 towns in Bengal. So he was walking with his wife after the marriage back to their home. And they were both beautifully decorated with all of the garments that people used for marriage. And he happened to walk by the house of Srinivas Acharya, who happened to be at the time giving Srimad Bhagavatam class. And Srinivas Acharya saw Ramchandra Kaviraj, and Ramchandra Kaviraj saw Srinivas Acharya. And when they looked at each other, immediately such a loving connection awakened within their hearts. And Ramchandra Kaviraj came to Srinivas, and Srinivas told him because he saw him decorated so beautifully and with his wife. He said, "You are putting so much energy and so much money just to take a rope and put it around your neck to hang yourself?" And Ramchandra Kaviraj understood what he was talking about. And he said, "Please instruct me." So they spent that night, he and his wife both. And Srinivasacharya explained to them the teachings of Lord Chaitanya as have come down through Rupa and Sanatana Goswami. And Ramchandra Kaviraj surrendered and said, "I want to be a devotee." And he took initiation from Srinivasacharya. When Sri Govinda, his brother, saw Ramchandra, he was effulgent. He was simply ecstatic. He was always speaking the glories of Krishna and always dancing jubilantly with his arms raised, chanting the holy names. How has this transformation come upon you? You are so happy. You are so divinely realized. Everything you speak is full of such perfect spiritual and philosophical depth. And he told him he was initiated by Srinivasa Acharya. So Sri Govinda was in a dilemma. He was thinking, I also want to be like my brother and get initiated by Srinivasa Acharya. But there's a big problem, that I was born because of the grace of Durga, and I've been worshiping her all my life. She's my family deity. My grandfather worshipped her, and I cannot displease her. But at the same time, I want to be like my brother, and I can't be like him if I keep worshiping Durga Devi. So what should I do? Just when he was thinking that way, Durga Devi spoke to him and told him, "You should surrender to Krishna, because Krishna is my Lord. He is the master of all masters. And Srinivasacharya is his pure devotee. And if you don't surrender to Krishna, then I will be displeased with you." So he was very happy with this message. And then he decided, I must go to Srinivasacharya. So he went to Jajigram. And when he came to Jajigram, he found that Srinivasacharya had left to go back to Vrindavan. And then Ramchandra Kaviraj also came. And he saw all the residents of Jajigram, all the disciples of Srinivasacharya were in terrible distress because Srinivas had gone to Vrindavan and they didn't know if he would ever come back. So they asked Ramchandra, "Please go to Vrindavan and bring our Guru Maharaj back." So Ramchandra Kaviraj went to Vrindavan. And when he arrived, the news began to spread that a very special personality has come to Braja. So Jiva Goswami asked Srinivasacharya, "Do you know who this person is?" He said, "It must be my disciple Ramchandra Kaviraj, Ramchandra." So he was brought to Radha Damodar temple, and there Jiva Goswami embraced him, and he was brought to so many other great personalities. In Vrindavan, he was brought to meet Gopal Bhatta Goswami. And there Ramchandra Kaviraj very intimately assisted his guru, Srinivasacharya, in serving his guru, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, to the great satisfaction of all three and everyone else who saw. And when the devotees of Vrindavan heard the wonderful, wonderful poetry of Ramchandra, Jiva Goswami gave him the title Ramchandra Kaviraj. And they had wonderful, wonderful experience, parikrama of Braja, and so forth. And then Jiva Goswami instructed Srinivas that you should go back to Jajigram. The people need you there. Shamananda happened to be there at the time too. So Shamananda, Srinivas Acharya, and Ramchandra Kaviraj all together, they left. They went back to Jajigram. There Srinivas Acharya initiated Sri Govinda, who later became known as Sri Govinda Kaviraj, who has written so many beautiful songs. Bajahure Mana Sri Nandanandana was written by that great personality, I believe. So one day they came to a village called Budhari. And Ramchandra and Srinivas were there. And Ramchandra was always hearing the glories of Narottam Das Thakur, because Narottam Das Thakur and Srinivas Acharya were such deep friends in Krishna consciousness. Like two souls, like two bodies with one soul. So he used to sometimes long and weep and cry, when will I meet this great person, Narottam Das Thakur? So while they were in Budhari, a messenger came and came to Srinivas Acharya and said that I am coming from Kechari. And my Guru Maharaj, I am the most sinful, the most degraded. But somehow or other, Narottam Das Thakur has accepted me as his servant. And he is just coming to meet you. So they were all very, very happy. And the next day, Narottam Das Thakur arrived. But that night, everyone took sleep. And Ramchandra Kaviraj could not sleep. He was thinking, tomorrow, the fulfillment of all my desires, I will meet the great Vaishnava Narottam Das Thakur. He couldn't sleep. But just toward the end of the night, he fell asleep for a few minutes. And Lord Chaitanya appeared to him in a dream and told him, don't feel bad, that just as Narottam is dear to me, you are just as dear to me. And you will become the most intimate brothers and servants of the Lord. In fact, you will be inseparable. And between the two of you, you will remove the suffering of humanity. So the next day, Narottam arrived, and Srinivas Acharya, he bowed down to Srinivas Acharya, and Srinivas picked him up and embraced him, and they soaked each other with their tears of affection. And Narottam Das Thakur explained that he had a plan. He wanted to have the first Gaur Purnima festival in Kechari Gram. He said 6 deities had been revealed to him. And he wanted to install all these deities on Gaur Purnima. And whatever associates of Lord Chaitanya were still alive, they were so sad in separation from the Lord. He wanted to invite all of them to Kechari to have a jubilant Gaur Purnima festival on Lord Chaitanya's appearance day. And he asked Srinivas Acharya if he would arrange this festival with him. And Srinivas Acharya began to think that night that it's very short notice to send messengers to all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya everywhere, invitations. There's hardly any time. And besides that, they're all so much suffering due to separation of the Lord, who will even have the capacity to come? And that night, Lord Chaitanya appeared to Srinivasacharya. And he said that I will arrange all my associates to come. It will be a wonderful festival. Go and send the invitations immediately. So the next day, Srinivas had a vision of Lord Chaitanya, who told him that Ramchandra Kaviraj and Narottam Das Thakur should preach together. So he told Ramchandra Kaviraj, you are my foremost disciple. I am entrusting you to the care of Narottam Das Thakur. Go together with him, preach with him, and help him organize this wonderful Gaur Purnima festival. So Ramchandra Kaviraj and Narottam Das Thakur were introduced to one another at that time. And one of the most legendary and historical relationships amongst Vaishnavas within our sampradaya was established on that day. Ramchandra Kaviraj and Narottam Das Thakur went to Kechari. Srinivasacharya helped arrange all the invitations to be sent. Soon Janava Devi, the wife of Lord Nityananda Prabhu, and so many other devotees were coming. She passed through Navadvip and collected all the devotees there. And then she passed through Shantipur and collected the devotees there. And then she came through Srikhanda and collected all the devotees there. And there were hundreds and hundreds of devotees. And Santosh Dutt, who was the cousin brother of Narottam Das Thakur, who took the kingdom in place of Narottam, he built beautiful, beautiful houses, guest houses and kitchens and temples just for this festival, just to serve the Vaishnavas. He practically took whatever he had in his royal treasury just to make accommodations to make the devotees happy. And there was a royal reception for all the Vaishnavas when they came. A wonderful prasad was distributed. And on the morning of Gaur Purnima, Srinivasacharya personally performed the Abhishek and installed all the 6 deities that were revealed to Narottam Das Thakur. And then they asked Narottam to lead kirtan. So first some other devotees started singing. Raghunandan Prabhu Thakur started singing. And at a certain point, Narottam came in. And his voice was so sweet and so filled with bhakti that it was just melting the hearts of everyone. And as the kirtan became more and more and more transcendentally ecstatic and spiritually emotional, at a certain point, the devotees could not contain their enthusiasm to loudly chant the holy names of Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
And Krishna is none different than his name. And Gauranga Mahaprabhu is none different than his name. They were chanting in feelings of such separation from Lord Chaitanya that in reciprocation to their chanting, a great miracle took place. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally appeared in the middle of the kirtan with his long arms extending below his knees, raised high, inducing everyone to loudly call out the holy names.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, Hare.
And along with him were all of his associates. There was Nityananda Prabhu, who had also left years before. And there was Srivas and his brothers, and Advaita, and Gadadhar Pandit. And there was Murari Gupta, and Shuklambar Brahmachari, and Ramananda Rai, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and King Pratap Rudra, and Shankar Pandit, and Damodar Pandit, and Rupa Goswami, and Sanatan Goswami, and Kashishwar Pandit, Kashi Mishra. Long list of the most intimate, eternal associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And as Narottam continued singing in Kirtan, all of them, all of the associates of Lord Chaitanya, were just ecstatically inducing everyone to participate in the loud chanting of the holy name. And this kirtan went on. It was a timeless kirtan. And the devotees, all their most intimate and precious desires were completely fulfilled. All the devotees who were thinking, I had missed the appearance of the Lord, they all had his personal association, intimately dancing with him in kirtan. And then, according to the Lord's sweet will, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Haridas Thakur, and all the others, they just disappeared. And then the devotees were in terrible grief in separation. And some were falling on the ground unconscious, and some were just looking, where is Advaita? Advaita, where are you? And someone else was saying, Nityananda Prabhu, where are you? Where are you? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, where are you? Srivas, where are you? People were just, whoever they were fixing their consciousness on seeing in this beautiful kirtan, they were just looking for them and asking about them and roaming everywhere, searching. And then Janava Devi, the eternal consort of Nityananda Prabhu, she began to celebrate the holy festival. And she had arranged beautiful colors, dyes and powders. And first she started decorating the deities of Radha and Krishna by very devotionally sprinkling these colors on them, and then on the other deities, and on the deity of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. And then after that, the great Mahants, the great associates of Lord Chaitanya, the colors were offered to them. And then all the devotees, in a very sweet and gentle and devotional way, began to express their love for one another by sprinkling these colors on each other. Not the way Holi is celebrated these days in India, where people, it's practically like, it's not like a Vrindavan pastime these days. It's more like Kurukshetra pastime. Holi is a very sweet, gentle, loving pastime. Now it's become violent. People stay indoors just to avoid it. So they had this beautiful holy festival, and kirtan went on, and after the holy festival there was a wonderful arti. And then they went to Mangal Arti. And then the next day Janava Devi personally cooked for all the devotees, and with her own hands she served all the Vaishnavas. Although she was the topmost devotee, in fact she was considered the principal senior Vaishnav in all the world. And yet she was personally so happy to humbly serve the devotees by cooking for them, by serving them. And after everyone was served, she personally served all the servers. And after all the servers were served, she personally served the people who were helping serve the servers. And after everyone was served, then she took some prasad herself. This wonderful festival became famous everywhere. In fact, Kechari Gram, people from all around were coming because they heard that in this mandapa In this particular place of Kirtan Hall is where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared to dance. And then Janava Devi decided she would go to Vrindavan, and she took leave and went. Meanwhile, Ramchandra Kaviraj, Narottam Das Thakur, Srinivasacharya, Shamananda, Santosh Datta, they organized this whole wonderful festival. Srinivasacharya then left, Shamananda Prabhu left, everyone left, but Ramchandra Kaviraj remained always with Narottam Das Thakur. And there are so many nice stories. Should I continue? Krishna Chandra, should I continue or should we? No objection? If you like me to continue, encourage me. I am your servant. One time, Narottam Das Thakur and Ramchandra Kaviraj went to bathe in the holy river. And when they came there, they saw two little boys, and they had these baby cubs, sheeps, goats, and buffaloes. And Narottam Das Thakur said to Ramchandra, these children, they actually have the potential to be very great devotees. So Ramchandra, he said, you should teach them Srimad Bhagavatam. So Ramchandra Kaviraj began to speak on Srimad Bhagavatam in such a way that the boys could hear. And they listened, and they became attracted, and they came over. And Ramchandra Kaviraj asked, who are you? What are you doing? What are all these little animals with you? They said that our father is a great Brahmin. His name is Shivayacharya, and he is a devotee of Durga. And during the Vijay Dashami, or Dasera, he does the Durga Puja. And all these animals we are bringing back for him to offer to Goddess Durga, to slaughter them. These beautiful little animals. And but after hearing your teachings, we think maybe we shouldn't do this. And Ramchandra Kaviraj began to explain to them, what is a devotee? What is the nature of the compassion of a devotee to all living beings? So upon hearing this, they decided, our fathers, they told that our fathers, a great physician and a priest of our father, Balaramacharya, he actually bought all these animals and sent us to get them. But now we will just let them go. We will not bring them. In fact, we will not even go home. What to speak of these? We will join your ashram. One of the children's name was Hariram, and the other was named Ramakrishna. So they went back to Narottam Das Thakur's temple, and Ramchandra Kaviraj and them instructed them in the science of Krishna consciousness for many days. And Ramchandra Kaviraj initiated Hariram, and Narottam Das Thakur initiated Ramakrishna. They shaved their heads and became brahmacharis. And meanwhile, the father was waiting. Where are all the animals? After some days, they were sent to go to their homes. So they met their father's priest, Balaramacharya, and explained everything about Ramchandra Kaviraj, Narottam Das Thakur, and Vaishnava philosophy. And they converted him. So then Balaramacharya went to their father and tried to explain to him that not only did they let the animals go, but they became devotees. They joined the Hare Krishna movement. And the father, like most fathers, became furious with anger. What nonsense. Bring them to me. So Ram Krishna and Hari Ram approached their father. They were just small boys. And the father was just, his eyes were red. He was beside himself. He was trembling. He was so angry. He couldn't contain himself. He said, "This is nonsense. This is bogus. This is an offense." He said, "You bring this Narottam and Ramchandra, you bring them here. And let the great pundits who are Shaktas, who are my associates, let them argue and let them be defeated, and then you will see." And the boy, Hari Ram, the disciple of Ramchandra Kaviraj, he became angry because his Guru Maharaj was being offended. He said, "I will not allow these pundits to meet my Guru. Let them meet me. Bring them all." So, Shivaya Acharya brought all the great pundits of the Shakta school. And little Hari Ram completely defeated them. And this was becoming, Shivaya Acharya was becoming even more angry. And then he called for the greatest Shakta Pandit in the whole world. He was from Mithila. He was undefeated. And he came. And these children defeated him. He was so wealthy because whenever you win, you get all kinds of treasures. After being defeated so terribly, he just gave all his wealth away and became a beggar. Balaramacharya also helped to defeat so many great scholars and pundits. And all of the pundits came to Shivai and told him that Vaishnava philosophy is supreme. No one can defeat it. We all must become Vaishnavas. But he couldn't accept it. He was so angry that he actually lost all his health. And he was actually dying due to anxiety and frustration that his children have gone out of his control. Does this sound familiar? For brahmacharis it's familiar. For others it might not be familiar. And actually he was on his deathbed. And he just couldn't give up his envy toward Narottam and Ramchandra for taking his sons away. And he was worshipping Bhavani, begging her to somehow. And then one day Bhavani appeared to him in a dream with her sword and said, "You have been offending these great devotees. I am the servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and these are the greatest servants. Either you surrender to them, or you will surrender to my sword." So, ultimately, all parents become devotees. If you surrender to Krishna, everyone gets the mercy of the Lord. One day, Hari Ram and Ram Krishna were on the banks of the holy river Ganges, and they were always talking about Krishna, and they were always dancing and always chanting the holy names.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama.
And there was a great Brahmin scholar, the greatest Brahmin scholar. His name was Ganga Narayan Chakravarti. And he saw Ram Krishna and Hari Ram, and he knew them before because they were all of Brahmin class. So he was thinking, they are so effulgent, they are so blissful, they are so realized. It's because of Narottam Das Thakur. I am such a great scholar of the Vedas, but I don't know anything. I'm born in a Brahmin caste, but what is the value? I have uselessly wasted my life because I have not taken shelter of a pure devotee of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So somehow I must find Narottam Das Thakur and surrender my life to him. So what happened is that night Narottam Das Thakur appeared to Ganganarayan Bhattacharya in a dream and told him, tomorrow I will meet you and initiate you. Go to the bank of the Ganges. And on the bank of the Ganges, he saw Ram Krishna and Hari Ram, and he fell at their feet, big great Brahmin, and asked, please take me to your guru. And they said, look, our guru's coming. And Narottam came and took him back, and on an auspicious day he initiated Ganganarayan Chakravarti. And he entrusted Ramchandra Kaviraj to train them in Krishna consciousness. And Ramchandra Kaviraj each day would explain the teachings of Lord Chaitanya to Ganganarayan Chakravarti. Narottam Das Thakur was not a Brahmin. So although many people were very blissful, many people were very disturbed because he was when he initiated Ganganarayan Bhattacharya, this was such a tumultuous upset to the Brahmin class. He was the most highly learned, prestigious Brahmin who took initiation from a non-Brahmin and was humbly serving him. So some great Brahmins went to a king named Narasimharaj. And they said, you are the king, and if you defend religious principles, you will gain entrance into heaven. But if you do not, then you will go to hell. And to defend religious principles means to defend the Brahmins. And we are Brahmins. And the whole Brahmin class is being disturbed and destroyed, our whole credibility, because Narottam Das is initiating Brahmins into Vaishnava culture. He must be stopped. So he sent a letter. Narottam, why you are doing like this? Narottam gave a reply with so much nice philosophy. And the king said, I don't see anything wrong with this. And then the Brahmins were very much angry. And he said, then we should go there and have debate with him. And if you can defeat him, then we will punish him. So all of these great learned scholars, and they brought the most learned, undefeatable, except on one occasion. His name was Rup Narayan. And they all went, along with the king, on a procession to Kechari Gram. So the message came to Narottam that they were just in the village outside of Kechari Gram. And he said to Ramchandra Kaviraj, I think we're going to have to debate with these men because they are coming to defeat us along with the king. So then Ramchandra Kaviraj spoke with Ganganarayan and they made a plan. They dressed themselves up as merchants, very simple merchants. And they bought some pots and betel nuts. And one of them put down a little mat and became a seller of little clay pots. And the other became a seller of betel nuts. And they set up just on the side of the road in this village outside of Kechari Gram. So when the king's procession entered into that village, they stopped, and the pundits went to get clay pots for cooking and betel nuts for chewing. And they said, how much is this? And in perfect Sanskrit grammar, they explained how much it was. Now in those days, to be a clay pot seller or a betel nut seller means you're a Shudra or at most a Vaishya. And they're not supposed to know perfect Sanskrit. They said, what is this? How you are knowing Sanskrit? They said, how do we know Sanskrit? We are disciples of Narottam. They said, Narottam. They started blasting me. And they got in a debate. And within a matter of seconds, they were completely defeated by the betel nut seller and the potter and the clay pot seller. and they didn't know what to do. And they started trying to, and soon it became a loud uproar. And the king, he said to Rup Narayan, he said, "What's happening? We should go see." And they went and they saw these two simple people in just raggedy clothes, just sitting on the ground selling their pots. And Narasimha Raj said to Rup Narayan, he said, "All your big scholars have been completely defeated. I think you better debate them." So Rup Narayan came and very loudly began to challenge. And within a matter of seconds, he was completely annihilated philosophically. He was speechless. And Narasimha Raj Maharaj, he said to the scholars, "If this is what the simple peasant disciples of Narottam can do to you, I don't think it's wise for you to debate with Narottam Das Thakur." And Rup Narayan said, "I think that we should go surrender to him. Otherwise, we will have to live with this offense in hell." So they all went together to Kechari Gram, and there they met Srila Narottam Das Thakur and the king and all the pundits and Rup Narayan. They all fell at his feet, begging again and again to forgive. And Narottam Das was so humble, he just embraced them and welcomed them and offered them prasad and gave them all initiation. And they all became his disciples, great devotees of the Lord. When this happened, it created a tremendous impact on everyone. In fact, there was a dacoit. This dacoit was named, I think his name was Chanda. And he was the king of dacoits. He was so cruel. He had killed so many people. Even dacoits were scared to death of him. And there's a beautiful, beautiful story of how he was robbing and stealing and had gangs of dacoits all around him. They would do anything he said. He was such a notorious person and addicted to every kind of sinful, cruel act. And he saw that these other dacoits were becoming devotees. They were becoming Vaishnavas. They were chanting and they were dancing. They were serving humbly. This was completely out of character for a dacoit. So he was wondering, what is this? So one day, the goddess Bhavani appeared to him and told, actually what happened is the goddess Bhavani appeared to him with her sharpened sword and told him that you too should surrender to Narottam Das Thakur. So he actually went to Narottam and fell down and he admitted all of his sins. And Narottam taught him how to chant the holy names of Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
And then he became so gentle and so humble, always wanted to serve people and glorify people. And when all the other dacoits saw this, they were shocked. And they understood he's their leader. So every dacoit in all the provinces around, when they saw that Chanda had become a Vaishnava, he preached to all of them. He explained to them, the real treasure is not in all these riches and illicit things. The real treasure is in the holy name of Krishna. I have experienced it. I have tasted it. It is nectar. You come, you take initiation from Narottam Das Thakur. and you enjoy the real treasure of prema bhakti by chanting the holy name. Devotees. And this Chanda, he was the leader, and he was just getting them all together, and they were having uproarious, ecstatic, dancing kirtans, chanting the holy name.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
But one king who was against Vaishnavas, he was thinking that this dacoit Chanda, he has done so many offenses and so many sins, and it was impossible to arrest him before, but now it will be very easy, because now he's a humble, gentle devotee. Sometimes devotees think when you become humble and gentle, people will take advantage of you. Oftentimes we get this question, that if you become very humble and gentle, people will just take advantage of you. Then what do you do? So here's a lesson in this context. So when they came to arrest him, he just, I am your servant. Previously he had armies of people with daggers and swords and dynamite all around him. But now he just gentle Vaishnavas, they welcome whoever came with. And he was brought before the king, and with very courteous, gentle words, he greeted the king. And the king just chastised him and started beating him, beat him and beat him and beat him, and punished him, and then put him in prison. Hare Krishna. But he was just very happy, just chanting the holy names of Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare.
So when the king, although everything he was practically on the verge of death, he was being tortured and deprived of proper food and rest and everything, but he always remained so forgiving and so kind, and he was always just the well-wisher of everyone, always absorbed in chanting. When the king saw this, his heart melted. And the king, by seeing how this dacoit had reformed, he became a devotee. And he released the king of the dacoits, who was now not the king of the dacoits. He was a Hare Krishna Bhakta. So in this way, Narottam Das and Ramchandra Kaviraj always remained together in the most intimate, loving friendship, assisting and serving one another to perform the work of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Narottam Das Thakur was initiated by Lokanath Goswami. Ramchandra Kaviraj was initiated by Srinivasa Acharya, who was initiated by Gopal Bhatta Goswami. But there was no sectarian feelings. They were all devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Their gurus were the best of friends. Actually, this is a relationship which involves even other generations within Vaishnava culture. But they were like one soul in two bodies, because they were so fixed in spreading the glories of the holy name everywhere and humbly serving the devotees. It was heard that some of the devotees in Vrindavan, actually Ramchandra Kaviraj, Srinivasa Acharya, Narottam Das Thakur, they went on parikrama of Jagannath Puri. They went to Navadvip, where Ishan Thakur, the personal servant of Sachimata, took them all to the 9 islands for the Navadvip Mandala parikrama. And then Ramchandra Kaviraj, with the permission of Narottam Das Thakur, went to Vrindavan to visit their old associates there. And when Ramchandra Kaviraj was in Vrindavan, he saw that many of their dearest superior Vaishnavas were leaving this world in separation of Rupa and Sanatana and Lord Chaitanya. Ramchandra Kaviraj was feeling such an immense love for them that he fixed his heart and his mind in Vrindavan Dham on the lotus feet of Radha Govinda, and unable to bear the separation from these great devotees, he gave up his life and returned back to the spiritual world. Last Tuesday was the disappearance day of Ramchandra Kaviraj. When the news came to his guru, Srinivasacharya, that his dearmost disciple Ramchandra Kaviraj had left the world, his heart was filled with so much separation. He didn't want to live separate from him any longer. Soon after that, Srinivasacharya left the world to go back to Godhead. And when Narottam Das Thakur heard that his most intimate friend Ramchandra Kaviraj and godbrother and his most intimate friend and Shiksha Guru Srinivasacharya had also left the planet due to separation of Ramchandra, he could no longer bear. And at that time he wrote that beautiful song, Jayanilo Premadana Acharya Thakur. The song which is the prayers to the departed Vaishnavas, which we sing in the disappearance day of all great Vaishnavacharyas. In it, he is singing, the first line, he is singing in separation from Srinivasacharya. Such a great personality who distributed the treasure of prema bhakti like Srinivasacharya, how can we live without him? And then he prayed in separation from Rupa and Sanatan and the other Goswamis and Lokanath, and he ended it by breaking his head in the stone of separation in anguish due to separation from his dearest friend Ramchandra Kaviraj. And soon after writing that song, Narottam Das Thakur took his devotees, Ganga Narayan, Chakravarti and others, to the banks of the Ganges, and he said, begin kirtan. And in kirtan, he entered the Ganges, and he asked the devotees to pour the water over him with their hands, and as they did, his body just liquefied and merged into the river Ganges. This brief narration I have just shared with you gives a nice illustration of how when devotees genuinely and sincerely put Krishna and Guru as the object and goal of all of their words, their actions and thoughts, it creates the most perfect and pure love. The love of this world is simply the selfless expression of our desire to serve the passions of our mind and senses. The so-called love of this world actually takes our heart and our consciousness away from the true object of real love, and that is Krishna. But, and that is why loving relationships in this world can never be satisfying. As long as the mind and senses are stimulated, or the emotions are stimulated by a particular relationship, there's a certain euphoria and intoxication, but it doesn't last. it usually becomes very frustrated and is a source of anxiety and grief. But when Krishna is in the center, when service to Krishna is in the center, when service to Vaishnava is in the center, that love is perfect and pure and spiritual. When we talk about loving Krishna, you cannot love Krishna without loving his devotees. And you cannot love devotees without putting Krishna in the center. The impersonalists, their misconception is that they want to become God and Jagan Mitya Brahma Satyam. That God is truth, but everything in this world is an illusion. So their approach to God is impersonal, their approach to each other is impersonal. There can be no love either in this world or beyond. But because devotees have conviction that Krishna is a person, and his associates are persons, and we can develop eternal relationships with Krishna and his associates. And through this, perfect, real, and true love. Rishabdev is explaining that that his sons should develop this type of love. Although they were sons, they were actually all God brothers, because Rishabdev was their guru. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he appeared, he came with his associates and the descendants of those associates to reveal how the love of the spiritual world can be experienced by us right here in this world. If we take pleasure in assisting and serving one another to uplift the suffering, ignorant masses, to serve the Vaishnavas, to hear the Srimad Bhagavatam, and to joyfully participate in the Sankirtan of the holy name.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
But not like that. It should be very loud and enthusiastic for the pleasure of the Lord. If we keep these pure motives within us, there's no need to go to materialistic counselors or psychiatrists or psychologists or politicians to solve our problems. If we just actually keep the instructions of Guru and Krishna between us purely, then the purpose of our lives and the relationships that grow between us will become so genuinely satisfying that rather than searching elsewhere, we will just be so aggressively compassionate to give this gift to others and broadcast loudly that there is only one cure to the medicine, or one medicine to cure the ills of this world. And that is associating with devotees in this way and chanting Harinam.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Thank you very much.